Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. Robbie, what do we have?
Welcome back, everybody. Deputy Opinion Editor at Newsweek, Batya Ungar-Sargon, joins us to talk about Dr. Anthony Fauci's recent pushback on the lab leak theory to explain the origins of COVID-19. And infectious disease expert Dr. Amish Adallah joins us to break down everything we know about the new coronavirus variant.
But first, over the weekend, the World Health Organization designated the new B11529 coronavirus variant as a variant of concern and gave it the name Omicron. Omicron has already been detected in a number of countries, including Canada, Botswana, Australia, the UK, Germany, Italy, and Belgium. But it was first identified in South Africa. President Biden met with Dr. Anthony Fauci Sunday and members of the White House COVID-19 response team to discuss the new strain. Biden plans to provide an update later today. This after Fauci reportedly told the administration that it will likely take 2 more weeks to learn definitive information about the new strain, such as its transmissibility and severity.
But today, the World Health Organization warned that Omicron is likely to spread further, poses a very high global risk, and surges of COVID infections caused by the variant could have severe consequences for some areas. Dr. Fauci told ABC's George Stephanopoulos on Sunday that the COVID-19 Omicron variant will inevitably be found in the United States, but it's too early to tell if there will be any new lockdowns or mandates due to the new strain. Let's take a listen.
Expect to be seeing more lockdowns again, new lockdowns, more mandates?
You know, I don't know, George. It's really too early to say. We just really need to, as I've said so often, prepare for the worst. And it may not be that we're going to have to go the route that people are saying. We don't know a lot about this virus, so we want to prepare as best as we can. But it may turn out that this preparation, although important, may not necessarily push us to the next level. People talking about lockdowns, people talking about that. Let's see what the information that we're getting in real time tells us, and we'll make decisions based on the science and the evidence the way we always do. But you want to be prepared to do anything and everything, and that's the reason why we're paying such close attention to this and why we're all over it.
So it seems like there's a couple things we need to find out. We need to know if this variant is more transmissible than Delta. Obviously, Delta was significantly more transmissible than the original strain. We need to know if it's more dangerous, more lethal if you actually do get it. And we need to understand how well our existing vaccines protect against it. Because obviously, if it's not as transmissible as Delta, then Delta might remain the dominant strain for a long time.
Right.
You wouldn't want to swap out the vaccines with a different vaccine to deal with or tweak the vaccines. But obviously, if it is more transmissible, if it's going to overtake Delta, then we need to be preparing for that like now. And I would rather we do that instead of in this constantly like restarting and re-shutting down every facet of social life, which does not. I know the disease is serious, but how is that sustainable to do this again? We're going to go into year 3 of this project. Instead, whatever steps, whatever corners can be cut if we need a new vaccine or a change to the vaccine we have, the specific technology, swapping out the code or whatever, do that as fast as do that faster. Don't wait. Just do it now. Right. And that would be that's the thing to rush instead of well, maybe we'll just shut down all of society again. We'll see.
Right. And one of the reasons that they took so long, so the vaccine was made in record time. Give them credit for that.
Yes.
But they had it the first weekend.
The first week.
It was ready.
It's so hard to get around that basic fact.
I know. But it took another year. Obviously you have to produce it.
Yeah.
And then you had to test it because you want to make sure that what you're giving people is not, that the cure isn't isn't worse than the disease. We're now at a point, though, that whatever process the FDA goes through, is not going to be persuasive to a significant chunk of the public. So they could even start rolling it out on in different levels. Here's the Robbie vaccine.
Right. Here's the experimental libertarian one. Yes. It might make you start twitching randomly, but sign me up.
We don't know, but here it is. And you'd have millions of people lining up.
Right.
Day one, be like, hey, I've read about Omicron. It sounds like it gets around. If it does as they're suggesting, have some immunoevasive capacity. Shoot, give it to me, and then study it for the next year, and then and people who want to wait for those results can wait for that. And then the other people who want like a global experiment to play out before them and watch whether or not the world dies, then those people can wait even longer, and then they can get their vaccine. But it has been interesting to see how this news has kind of blotted out the sun. I mean, we're partly in a news desert coming out of Thanksgiving. Yeah. But we don't know so much. You know, you listed all of the things that we don't know yet. You know, there's some indication that it has unusual properties, that it's milder potentially, but there's also some indication that it can mutate much faster than some of the previous ones. To me, the worst case scenario has not been broached yet, which is children, you know, succumbing to the virus at the same rate as the elderly. Like that, as horrible as this experience has been for everyone, including the million-plus people that have died around the world, it has not, it has not killed thousands and thousands and thousands of children, which is the kind of thing that I think could, and that's what traumatized the world so badly in 1918, 1919. That it was young people, young men and women and boys and girls who were also catching it and could die. And now kids today can die from it,
right?
But 0.00000 to the point where you're not panicked,
right?
If your kid gets it.
And the overwhelming majority of those, again, very sad, but had significant health issues.
Right, so you know ahead of time.
Right. If you have a child who has a severe immunocompromised issue, then you absolutely take extra precautions on their behalf. But your average child is not in very much danger at all.
But I think you're right that people are done with the lockdowns. Like you would have to have a strain of such virility and such ferocity to get people to agree to more lockdowns.
And some people, you're going through the people who would take the vaccine now, sign me up. Right. People who want to wait a little bit.
People are still locked down. There are plenty of people who are.
But there's also there are millions of people who are not going to take a vaccine no matter what. Right. Or it would take. You're right. It would take like the worst strain ever. I'm sure would convince some people to get it. But look, and we have to live with that. We have to live that different people have different risk calculations at this point, and you might not agree with it, but you can do what you think is best for you and for your family, and you can associate with people who share that value, and that's all we can do at this point. Right. Like there's not that much additional we can do. Right. I don't think I was reading a story. It was supposed to be a feel-good story about this elderly couple. They're in their 90s. They've been married for 70 years, and because of lockdowns, I can't even remember where this was, if this was even the U.S. But they could not. They were in like a nursing facility, and they'd been separated for like 10 months. Mm-hmm. And they were, it's supposed to be a feel-good because it's their reunion, and they're finally getting to see each other. But that is so horrible. Like, I understand the risk to people in that age group is high. They were in the same facility? I don't know exactly what the details were, but for whatever reason, they couldn't see each other for 10 months. But, that is not healthy for to separate elderly people, like a couple like that. And what they could have, they could die at any, just because they're elderly people.
They could go senile in that stretch of time, so they might still be alive, but might not even recognize each other.
But even though COVID poses a risk, you're going to tell very elderly people for like 3 years of their lives they can't do anything, they can have no quality of life. I mean, that's really bad too. That's not healthy. So we can't do draconian stuff anymore. I just don't see how we can. Right.
It would have to. Right. The characteristics of the virus would have to change, I think, dramatically.
Yeah.
And then people are like, okay, now we can.
Right. A way like the contagion, the movie Contagion, level death would be. But hopefully we're not going to see that. Obviously, we're waiting for more information, so we don't want to panic anyone. It would be wonderful to find out that this is a more mild strain and that our vaccines hold up well against it. But we're still waiting for that information.
Yeah. And we'll have more on the show later about it.
Absolutely.
People who know what they're talking about. And we'll tell you what's on our radars up next.